Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And with that, let's get to the list.
So we may be judged in his image.
Honeydew is a 2020 horror movie written and directed by Deborah O. Milburn. It stars Sawyer Spielberg, Malin Barr, and Barbara Kingsley. Strange cravings and hallucinations befall a young couple after seeking shelter in the home of an aging farmer and her peculiar son, after being stranded in the middle of nowhere.
Hi. We were just wondering if we could borrow your phone.
Oh, please, where are my manners? You two must be starving.
This movie is just unsettling from the start. It has this slow, creeping dread that makes you feel like something's off long before anything actually really happens. It's just weird and suffocating. The characters are strange, making you feel uncomfortable. Everything just feels off, so it builds the feeling of uneasiness. It's just bizarre, grim, and definitely sticks in your head. It is a bit of a slow burn, but in the final act, this movie really goes off the rails, so it definitely makes it worth the wait. So if you're into indie horror that gets under your skin and sticks with you, this is a damn good pick.
Why are you moving?
Crone Wood is a 2016 found footage horror thriller written and directed by Mark Sheridan. It stars Ed Murphy and Elva Trill. A young couple decide to go camping after going on a wonderful first date, but they quickly regret their trip into the woods.
There's nobody following us. Come on.
I'm telling you. Hello?
Danny, we have to get out of here.
Here's one that almost no one seems to know about, but it's a really good little indie found footage movie. It feels raw, stripped down, and uses this setting really well. It has that folk horror vibe where the woods themselves feel vast and dangerous. The performances feel natural with the found footage style that also gives it a gritty realism. So it really takes advantage of that, leaning into it. So it's simple, but the simplicity of it makes it effective. It does a great job of using that creepiness and the setting, and it takes some interesting twists and turns that keep you guessing the entire movie. So if you're into found footage horror movies, this is a real hidden gem that is definitely worth checking out. The Awakening is a 2011 British supernatural horror movie. Directed by Nick Murphy, it stars Rebecca Hall, Dominique West, and Imelda Staunton. In 1921 England, a professional hoax exposer visits a boarding school to explain sightings of a child ghost.
Magnetic field detector. Those are footprint catchers.
Ghosts have footprints.
No, people pretending to be ghosts do.
This is a really beautifully made movie. The cinematography is just gorgeous, as well as the set designs, the costumes, the production design in general is top notch. And it just has this classy, gothic, ghost story feel to it. What I really appreciate about it is how it's more than just scares. It's emotional, layered, and actually pretty moving. And Rebecca Hall is phenomenal in this, the way she always is in everything I've seen her in. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. She is the most underrated actor working today. She is just that good. And it's a real crime she doesn't get the recognition she deserves. But this movie is haunting, it's creepy, and downright terrifying at times. It really is one of the best underrated supernatural ghost stories out there. But if you want something that feels like a classic haunted house story, but that also has emotional depth to it, this is one I definitely recommend. The Burrowers is a 2008 Western horror movie, written and directed by J.T. Petty. It stars David Bussey, William Mapother, and Clancy Brown. In the Wild West, a rescue party sets out to find a family of settlers that have vanished from their home under mysterious circumstances.
Why would they bury her alive? I don't know.
This is a really unique movie because of how well it blends together Western, horror, and monster movie. The atmosphere is bleak, and the creature designs are nasty and creepy as all hell. And it feels disturbing and grim in a way that really sticks to you. It's much more dark and haunting than you would think it would be, because it takes this premise really serious. But what I like most is how it's not flashy, it's grounded, gritty, and that dusty frontier vibe way, which makes the horror in it feel even harsher. But I think it's one of the more overlooked monster movies, and definitely a perfect pick for any fan of horror. The
Alphabet Killer.
The Alphabet Killer is a 2008 crime horror thriller. Directed by Rob Schmidt, it's loosely based on the true story of the double initial killings in New York in the early 70s, and stars Elijah Dushku, Timothy Hutton, and Carrie Elwes. A former detective sets out to investigate a murder similar to the one that drove her to the brink of insanity.
Are you hiding?
This is one that's really worth checking out if you're a fan of true crime and horror. I did a list a month or so ago talking about horror movies that were inspired by real killings, real crimes. And the reason this one didn't make that list is because this does take it a little more loosely, and there is some supernatural angles and things somewhat along those lines that take it out of the realm of feeling grounded in reality. But that being said, it's a really good psychological horror movie. And Elijah Dushku really carries this with this raw, emotional performance that really grounds the story. Visually, it has this gritty, overcast look that perfectly fits the subject matter. And even though, like I said, it does have some supernatural tones to it, it still very much feels grounded in reality, because it gets dark and disturbing and gets into some pretty graphic, uncomfortable things. But there's a real muted style to the look and feel of the entire story, so it makes it much more unsettling. Definitely not any kind of flashy Hollywood polish in it. It's just cold and grim and atmospheric, and does a great job of keeping you locked in. What I really like though is how the movie uses its tension. Instead of leaning on cheap jump scares, it builds dread through the investigation and the way the story unravels. It's about this constant feeling of uneasiness, like you're staring into something you shouldn't be. So if you enjoy horror movies that blend in true crime, I think this is one you definitely will have a good time with. The Special is a 2020 horror movie. Directed by B. Harrison Smith, it stars Davey Rafferty, Dave Sheridan, and Sarah French. Suspecting his wife of infidelity, a man follows his friend down a dark rabbit hole into a horror landscape of addiction.
Jerry has found the Special.
This movie is just batshit crazy, but so entertaining. And it's way better than you would ever guess based off of the premise. It's body horror mixed with dark, twisted, macabre comedy. And it just goes places you don't expect. And what I think makes it so worth watching is how committed it is to being so strange and uncomfortable. It's disturbing, gross, but hilarious in a sick and twisted way. But if you're into weird, offbeat indie horror, this one's a real trip and definitely worth your time. Double Blind is a 2023 horror thriller. Directed by Ian Hunt Duffy, it stars Millie Brady, Pollyanna McIntosh, and Akshay Kumar. After an experimental drug trial goes awry, the test subjects face a terrifying side effect. If they fall asleep, they die.
Security breach.
Everyone, stay awake. Whatever you do, don't go to sleep. Don't even close your eyes. If you fall asleep, you'll die.
This is a very small, kind of movie. It's not some big, huge special effects kind of thing. But it is slick, modern sci-fi horror, and it really surprised me because I did not expect much at all going in. But the concept is simple, but creepy and pretty disturbing because the execution from everyone involved in making this is sharp and effective. What stood out to me is the tension. It's relentless, especially once it kicks in. Plus, the visuals are clean and the pacing is tight, so it keeps you locked in and engaged throughout. It's also smart without feeling pretentious, but it's one of the more recent indie horror movies that I think really deserves more attention than it's getting. Now, I'm not saying it's a game changer. Like I said, it is a small film, so go into it with lowered expectations. But it's intense. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. So if you're in the mood for an entertaining thrill ride, this is one definitely worth taking.
Haunting, mysterious, sensual, strange, perverse, riveting. The Hunger.
The Hunger is a 1983 horror movie directed by Tony Scott. It stars Catherine Devereaux, David Bowie, and Susan Sarandon. A love triangle develops between a beautiful yet dangerous vampire, her cellist companion, and a scientist.
Forever and ever.
This is such a sexually charged, gorgeous film. It's just pure style. The visuals, the music, the atmosphere is just dripping in mood and intensity. And Catherine Devereaux and David Bowie are just so hot and spicy in this movie. They bring so much style to this movie, it's just crazy. But you can't forget about Susan Sarandon. She is phenomenal in this as well. But what I love most about it is it's sensual, haunting, and more about vibe than it is cheap jump scares. But it does still get moody and creepy in its moments as well. That's just not its focus. It's so artful and gothic and feels honestly like a dream you can't shake. But this is a vampire story that's soaked in elegance, sex, and atmosphere. I am just such a big fan of this movie. It's such a mood and interesting 1980s vibe. So if you've yet to see this one, or if it's been a while, do yourself a favor and check it out.
Your eyes will see the wonders of a world no eyes in this world have ever seen before.
I wonder, will we ever get back to Earth?
The Angry Red Planet is a 1959 sci-fi horror movie. Directed by Ib Melchior, it stars Gerald Moore, Nora Hayden, and Jack Crucian. One of only 2 survivors from a Martian expedition is so traumatized she doesn't remember the details of her trip. This is classic sci-fi horror at its most fun, and the effects are wild in that retro way that makes old sci-fi so entertaining. And the use of tinted red visuals gives it such a unique look. It's a big part of what makes this movie so memorable for this era. And even though it does feel dated, there's a charm to it that definitely makes it worth seeing. But it's like I always talk about, I think it's important to see the roots of sci-fi and horror and where things have come from to understand where we're at today. Just to see the foundation, all the different influences from where everything comes from. But this is like stepping back into the 1950s atomic age of sci-fi. I just think this movie is so special. It's really one of my favorites from this era and definitely one worth adding to your list. Stitches is a 2012 comedy slasher horror movie, written and directed by Connor McMahon. It stars Ross Noble, Tommy Knight, and Gemma Leah Devereaux. A clown comes back from the dead to haunt those that took his life during a fatal party mishap.
Everybody happy?
This one is such a bloody good time. It's fantastic killer clown horror meets twisted comedy, and it absolutely delivers on the gore. The kills are over the top, creative, and hilarious in that gross out kind of way. But what I think really makes this work is how it doesn't take itself seriously at all. It's just meant to be fun. It's not meant to scare you or really upset you or disturb you or any of that. It's just meant to make you laugh and just have fun with. It knows exactly what it is and fully leans into that. It's nasty, it's silly, and it's one of the most entertaining clown horror movies out there. It's just so much fun, and I think it's a perfect pick for this Saturday night. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy, and enjoy! And like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun! And I'll see you all next time!